Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Outgrow's Market of the Month. I'm your host, Dr. Saksham Sharda. I'm the creative director at outgrow.co. And for this month, we're going to interview Jess Petrella, who is the director of product marketing at Unbounce. Thanks for joining us, Jess.
Wonderful. Thanks for having me.
So, Jess, we're going to start with a rapid fire round just to break the ice. You get 3 passes. In case you don't want to answer the question, you can just say pass, but try to keep your answers to one word or one sentence only, okay?
Got it.
At what age do you want to retire?
Oh, never want to retire. Yeah. Should be writing books at an older age if I'd like to.
Okay. How long does it take you to get ready in the mornings?
15 minutes.
Most
Yeah.
embarrassing moment of your life?
Oh, can't think of one. Really quick. Pass.
Okay. Favorite color?
Black. Yeah. Void of color.
What time of day are you most inspired?
First thing in the morning.
How many hours of sleep do you need?
Not a lot. 6, 7.
Fill in the
Maybe that's a
blank.
lot.
That's decent, actually. Fill in the blank. An upcoming marketing trend is blank.
AI.
The city in which the best kiss of your life happened.
Oh, my city, Ottawa.
Pick one, Mark Zuckerberg or Jack Dorsey.
Pass.
The biggest mistake of your career.
Too much pressure on myself early on.
How do you relax?
Reading.
How many cups of coffee do you drink per day?
0. Caffeine free.
A habit of yours that you hate.
Slight perfectionism in most things.
The most valuable skill you've learned in life.
One step at a time, one day at a time.
And the last one is your favorite Netflix show.
Oh, good. I'm going to pass. Can't think off the top of my head.
All right.
Too
All right,
many.
that was the end of the rapid fire round. Now we can move
Fun.
on to the longer questions. The first one is, how does one bridge the gap between product development and positioning?
Yeah, great question. The two work in tandem as closely as possible. I say that because product evolves quarter to quarter, year to year, and so should your positioning. Positioning is not a fixed uh, item on your checklist. It's something that needs momentum, it needs evolution, and it should always evolve alongside your product. Your product is what really places you in a category. It's really what validates how you are positioned and how you are understood. And I believe the two should evolve side by side. What relies on that is a really good working relationship between PM and PMM, typically. Having that lockstep motion of understanding where we're going and why is critical to evolving your positioning alongside your product roadmap.
And how, to what extent do you think maintaining a continuous and open dialogue with your prospective audience and customers can help this?
Yeah, that's a constant, right? It also depends on the stage in which your organization or your product is in. At Unbounce, we are in between a very established builder and a new builder that is AI based. It's innovative and it's part of a new emerging world of technology. And we're still finding product market fit. So our customer feedback in that space is valuable in how we evolve it, but it's all the more important to understand our market and where their expectations lie and where they want to see us go and what new problems are arising that our tools can solve for them. And then that goes back to the positioning piece as well, where it's critical for us to not just look inward in the organization and our own customer base, but outward in the category, in the emerging categories, in the market's response to what we're doing and what others are doing in our space. So there's a balance there, right? you're with a really established product, your customers will always help you find that way. When you're finding product market fit, looking outwards at the market, I find gives us that like tactile, tangible understanding of how we evolve things like positioning and messaging, and how we start to build our products so that we make it make sense for this new and emerging space.
And to what extent do you think AI is going to revolutionize SaaS itself? Because you right now mentioned that Unbounce is transitioning to an AI builder. How is the SaaS landscape going to change in general, according
Oh,
to you?
it already has. Yeah, it's really hard to take a step online or click online without seeing AI in the tools that we already use, right? So that for me was the first real indicator. Unbounce started to develop AI marketing tools over 3 years ago, right? Um, and it felt very new to us, and we felt like we were pioneering forward on something that was in a really cold market. To be quite frank, marketers weren't quite expecting AI. They didn't know what questions to ask to evaluate it. So it was a little tricky to put it in front of them. Today, like fast forward to just the last 3 months, um, the market demand has increased tenfold since we first entered the space. We use that to our advantage because market demand and exposure to AI is crucial for selling the product that we're selling and communicating its value to our audience. But yeah, to answer your question, it's already everywhere in SaaS and really quite quickly. So that's our first indicators. When I open a tool that I already use and it's starting to be part of that tooling, that's where I already see the early effects of it. In the long run, it becomes table stakes. That's our thinking around it, is that you should expect to use AI and augmented AI part of your tooling, no matter what, task you're checking off your list or what use case you're trying to achieve in that day or week. Um, so there are two sort of ways that SaaS orgs are starting to utilize AI. One, it's augmenting their existing core products, so it's part of the typical workflow. They're finding ways to make tasks quicker, easier, better output. Or others are really responding to that market demand and building a set of tools on top of their existing platform in order to bring in that curiosity from their target market and leverage the buzz that's around it. Both are really smart tactics right now in SaaS. I believe that leveraging trends is absolutely the job of the SaaS marketer. But what's going to have the longevity is really that embedded, integrated experience in your day-to-day workflow in the tools you're already using. And we're already starting to see that today. And I think that's just going to get stronger and stronger. Big tech has already like latched onto it. And there's we call it like a popcorn opportunity where you can sit back and watch who's going to win that race. And then in organizations like ours, it really is ways for us to achieve the mission that we're going after in a way that is more advantageous for our target market.
And what are some of the challenges and benefits of each of these approaches that you have mentioned?
Yeah, so I mean, integrating it into your SaaS product is advantageous because you already have a customer base who is you're going down the path of your user experience. It's advantageous for adoption. It's advantageous for testing and validating certain ideas and concepts and seeing your customer base's response to it. It's a great way to provide net new value and increased value on top of what you already offer within your product offering. Um, and I do think it has a little bit more longevity opportunity where if it's part of your core offering, you're able to continuously improve it, continuously innovate as the technology advances. But again, like I said, building a set of tools in order to leverage market demand, uh, gain attention for your product, and offer something new and typically free to your target audience or to your customer base is a great opportunity to, again, take advantage of the trend that's ahead of us, pre validate before building and baking into your product. getting those early response perspectives from early adopters. Um, yeah, and defining like where AI really fits into your core product offering. You don't necessarily need to fully evolve or fully shift your focuses. Sometimes it's about just making what you already offer better. Um, and AI is typically a way that SaaS orgs right now are trying to do that.
And so how does one go about fostering change like this or of any kind in a particular organization anyway? Like what would be like the role of purpose and values with regard to change?
Yeah, well, it's not easy. It's
Mhm.
product marketing's focus at Unbounce right now, full stop. If I bring it back to our experience here, um, Unbounce has been known as the like leading landing page builder, and we, had a hand in creating the category, leading it for a number of years. So as we started, over the last few years, integrating AI technology into our platform, AI copywriting, AI traffic automation, AI insights, all to, incite a better ROI on your spend as a marketer, um, we found that the real work to do there is to change market perception, right? You're known for something for so many years, over a decade, and now you're doing something altogether different. And we have a new builder versus our old classic builder that we're still finding our way through product market fit with. And it's really something quite exciting. And we've had the opportunity to, actually witness marketers transition from traditional marketing, like our classic and old builder, to AI marketing methods. That's the thing that keeps us motivated because we see them do it, right, by the thousands. It's not a new product. It's not like we're a new company just saying, hey, go use this. We actually see the real time transition from old to new and adopting new ways of doing things. So um, for product marketing at Unbounce, we talked a little at the beginning, bridging the gap between roadmap and our product positioning. It really is our primary focus now, and I believe that the way to do that really, really well is, have the market come along with you. You can't really force new on the market. You can't really say, hey, we're this, believe we're this now. It is a bit of a long run, and it's a slow bake opportunity to sort of modify the way that the market perceives us and perceives our value. So the way that we do it is through a few things. Like we talked a little bit about it. It's a little bit less about customer feedback and more about market feedback. So, for example, when we did our message market fit testing 12 months ago, it's radically different from what we hear in the market today. They're more tuned into AI, they understand it. The questions they have are less about what and why, more how. How does it work? How do you use the data? Do you pull audience data? Is it the same language model, large language models as everything else? And we're able to respond to that. So the market is really what shows evolution, and they show us when they're ready to understand the next phase and the next phase. Um, the second piece there is, we look outside of our existing category for direction, for market readiness, for possibility and growth opportunities. So it's less about, first and best in your category. It's how can we be different and sort of take learnings from, adjacent categories. There's also a lot of opportunity around our narrative design. It's less about, this world of like a concrete narrative that you run from like the beginning of the year to the end. It's actually more about storytelling through some micro narratives, depending on, the speed in which the technology evolves, the stage in which we are evolving our positioning. So I find that really helps us understand a little bit better. Um, Also important to mention, there isn't really an innovator's playbook when it comes to this new space of AI. So we sort of have to find our way through it and develop a blueprint that makes sense for us. And those are some of the ways that I find that really help us step through it. Um, Internal storytelling is also incredibly important. especially being in an organization that went from more of a traditional marketing mindset to a more innovative, emerging tech mindset, taking that time to bring your organization along with you on where the product is going, how it's developing, how we are incrementally changing the way that the market perceives us, uh, is becoming super essential in how we approach things. So, again, there isn't really a playbook for, you know, bringing innovative products to market. It really depends on where your organization is, what work you have to do if you're changing market perception or you're breaking in as a breakthrough product. But the AI space is just so fast and so ever moving that I find our messaging and our positioning needs to sometimes change on a dime. So we have to stay very quick, very focused, and very plugged into what's happening day to day. Because it's an immensely quick space to be working within. Can cause a lot of anxiety if you don't just like stay focused and really stay plugged into what's happening.
So, in the past year, could you give us an example or a story of a particular campaign that you did, or a market reperception that you had to do, or anything that would be interesting for a marketing audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So interestingly, or we typically will do, yearly a benchmark report for conversion rate benchmarking, or we'll do, we'll take on some enormous amount of research to be able to provide an enormous amount of value back to the market. Early last year, we ran a research report around SMBs, response, how they're using AI, what they think of it, what their general perspective is on it, what value are they getting out of it, and if they're, experiencing it in the future. Um, that research happened earlier in the year last year. If we take a look at it today and how we are centering our target market, the how advanced their understanding of what this emerging tech is, the research quickly becomes, very outdated real quick, right? So when we're running campaigns around that and we're running campaigns going forward, it's actually quite surprising how quickly things can become outdated. Like we have a joke internally here where someone will share a piece of news, and if it happened earlier in the morning and you don't see it till later in the day, it's like that's already old news, right? Because things are moving so quickly. And that is exactly the same as how what we see in our day-to-day campaigns is, if we don't go quickly, if we don't respond fast enough, if the topic isn't absolutely topical, uh, you can get outdated really quickly. So that's one of those like campaigns that we ran and put quite a lot behind. At the time, it was impactful, but as things move so quickly, yeah, those stats and those research points change so fast. So that's something we are trying to keep in mind is like as we go through the space, uh, very quick response is what's going to sort of get us that impact and that breakthrough that we're looking for.
And have there been any campaigns of the past that you've been able to recycle because the market changed again and all of a sudden something that was of no use became useful or could be presented in contrast as useful?
Yeah, well, we have an amazing content team. So, when we first started to break into the AI emerging market space, um, we did build out a lot of primer content around AI marketing. That kind of went stale over a little while because it was primer. It was very basic. It was very early. But we're now finding an appetite starting up for that again. So we're resurfacing that content, which becomes a little bit more valuable today, where people are now newly interested in AI tech and how they can use it in their day to day marketing practice. So that's a good example of how we are bringing things back that didn't quite land the way we wanted them to because the market was a bit colder, a couple of years ago. It's now evolved to be a very hot market. So in a hot market, you're just, response, response, response. And that's one of our efforts to do so.
And to what extent do you feel overall AI is going to have an impact on how we perceive landing pages themselves?
Yeah, so that is exactly what we are uncovering day to day. What we believed was the way 2 weeks ago changes as soon as GPT-4 hits the market, right? So it's a large language model. It's a more learned large language model, and it has new capabilities. So one of those capabilities, for example, is you can upload a sketch and then you can get an output for that. And we've seen Canva recently very quickly respond to that and bring it into their platform. Canva has 125 million users as part of their platform, right? So those users are now able to upload an image and get a bunch of outputs based on it, depending on the campaign that you're running or the assets you're looking for. So that's how quick things can change, and that's how quick it can augment any type of asset creation. So that's something we're always keeping an eye on and keeping a close look at how we can bring that into our thinking. But you'll see software is typically about, you start up your software, you do a ton of actions to get your output. And it's typically a starting point around, let's say, a template is a typical starting point for any sort of marketing asset that you're creating. But the starting point now is more a prompt or a thought or a perspective or an ask of what AI can do for you. So it's more opinionated and it's more perspective driven than it is choice driven, right? So I've already determined what I'd like. Here's the input and here's the output. Whereas this is something I can start with. I've got to make all these changes for it to be, what I want it to be. It's a very different workflow. So I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity, and we'll shift um, greatly in how you actually interface with your software going forward.
And how do you personally keep up with this rapid pace of change in the market itself? Like, do you feel overwhelmed sometimes, as, or how do you go
Yeah.
about that?
Yeah, it's something we do talk about. It's, I've worked in innovative tech for quite a while, but this is something I've not experienced before. And truthfully, I don't think anyone really has, unless you're going back to like the beginnings of the World Wide Web coming to be. It's incredibly rapid. But I do find it very exciting because never has there been so much opportunity and so much market demand so quickly, right? So if you can really stay focused in your day to day and you can really harness the opportunities that are in front of you and be protective of your strategy while still having an innovation mindset, I actually think it's very advantageous, but it can be overwhelming at times, especially when there's like five announcements on a Monday morning, or especially when you see copycats come up
Mm.
as you start to innovate your own tech, competitors keeping up as much as they can with new releases of yours. It's a lot of just like keeping up with the Joneses in that regard. And as the tech becomes more accessible, we'll see that more and more, and it's just to be expected. We're a lot more focused on how can we do this in a meaningful way, and it's less about those quick wins, more about the long term. What is the actual best application for AI in the day-to-day use of the marketer? So we're very protective of our strategy in that way and quite focused on it. But there's never been so much opportunity and so much market demand to leverage. Um, there's a bit of a downside to that, though, I will also say, right? Like I mentioned, message market fit can change on a dime. Your messaging is no longer just what you see on a website, but it's really just in everything, because it's never been so important to be in everything and such a clear message coming through, because you're not just selling your product anymore, you're selling your ideas and your perspectives and your point of view on how to leverage AI in our example as a marketer. Um, and then again, your direct competitors can uproot your differentiators very quickly because the technology is so it's so accessible right now, and it's evolving so quickly, and how through APIs and how accessible it is to day-to-day SaaS platforms. So it's the long term, and that product roadmap that goes into the year, 2 years, 5 years. having that really clear understanding of what you're building, why, and who it's for is really what's going to give companies the competitive edge right now. While still, taking advantage of those quick wins and that market demand, because never has there been a time where it was just so evident that that is the play right now.
And so how do you all particularly deal with competition and copycats?
I mean, it's one day at a time. I'm of the thinking that, all demand is good demand, all exposure is good exposure right now because it's such new technology, right? So to me, it doesn't matter if our target market learned about AI copywriting, for example, through their Notion, page that they created. That helps us prime them, right? And they come to us with more of an understanding of what to expect and how to use it. So to me, in this space right now, all demand is good demand. All competition is good competition. It's exposure. It's accelerating the space, and it's making it a lot more exciting to be a part of. It really is going to come down to differentiators. So what the differentiator in the AI space, uh, one thing that marketers would want to understand is that every piece of AI that they interface with is typically based on the same large language model. So it's based on the same machine learning model. The difference there is when you're evaluating this technology, is it trained for you, right? So at Unbounce, our ML models are trained on our proprietary data. So we have billions of conversion data points that we train our model. Essentially, it's no longer a generalist. Our AI is a marketing specialist, right? So that's the difference there, in the most simplest terms. And then how do we use your data on top of that? We pull your audience data in when we're automating your traffic, for example, and it becomes more specialized and more specific to the individual that is using it, the individual company, the individual marketer, more so than the sort of high level for anyone, for any use case AI that a lot of marketers are currently experiencing. So there will be a difference, but getting really niche and really specialized and very highly trained and fine-tuned, we believe is the key differentiator there. We're not just building AI, we're building AI for marketers.
Mm-hmm. All right, so the last question for you is of a personal kind then. What would you be doing in your life if not this right now?
Oh, that's so hard to answer. I can't imagine. This is my whole world right now. Uh, I probably find a way into AI some way or another. I do work on personal projects in the product marketing space as well. So I could probably see myself going down that path if I wasn't doing this. But truthfully, I couldn't think of anything that I prefer to be doing than this right now. It's really rewarding to be able to make change. It's really rewarding to see the difference that this technology shift is making in our target markets world as well as our customers. It's incredibly challenging, but I'm the type of product marketer that wants a big challenge to work through. So, and I couldn't ask for a better team at Unbounce to be doing that. So I really, it's a hard question because
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's many things that I could be doing, but this is just far too exciting to imagine anything other than this.
So you're not one of those people who's going to be a cabin in the woods. I wouldn't be away from tech.
Yeah,
No.
yeah, no, I love it. It keeps me going. That's why I wake up so early and get started so quickly in the day.
All right. Well, that was the last question. Thanks everyone for joining us for this month's episode of Outgrow's Market of the Month. That was Jess Petrella, Director of Product Marketing at Unbounce. Thanks for joining us, Jess.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
Check out their website for more details, and we'll see you next month once again with another Market of the Month.